I'm Tom Sipin from Four Winds Martial Arts in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I've been teaching the martial arts since about 1972. I've been in the martial arts training since I was about 3.5 years old. I've been a police officer just for about 26 years, and I've been training police and security since 1980. I'm here with my son, Kaylee Sipin, today. We're both instructors in Doce Eskrima from Cebu in the Philippines. And our particular style, we're presenting a few different things that are common to Eskrima, Collier, Arnis, the Philippine arts, and some things that are a little bit more specific to Doce Pares. Before we start the video, I'd like to point out that what you are seeing, obviously with any martial art, it's not something where you should just pick up a tape and just blindly start practicing, even more so when there's anything involved in weapons. With the fact that most of the Philippine arts are weapons, including what we're doing today, it's very recommended that you don't just pick up a stick or a knife and just try these things by yourself. Seek out a qualified instructor in your area. Contact us if you have trouble finding one. But someone that's qualified, knows what they're doing to help you out with these, and can help you out with the videos to add them onto your martial arts skills or to help you begin in your martial arts training and expand your knowledge that way. Definitely seek someone out and use this, and we hope you get some enjoyment out of it. This video that we do today is going to be advanced single stick. What we're going to be working on is disarming techniques, locking, and throwing. We're going to get started with disarming on basic techniques. Before we do, just a couple of added things we want to point out. With the disarming here, we're going to be working things a little bit easy and going on because by definition, someone's coming at you with a weapon. Now what you want to do is be able to, number one, not have that weapon damage you any more than you need to. And then control the person long enough to take the weapon away from them. Now if you're working with weapons, obviously the danger is a lot higher even than with empty-handed attacks. Especially when we start getting into later on with anything, if you're trying it not just with the sticks but with edged weapons, you want to be sure of what you're doing. You don't do things fast. It takes a while with anything. Just like a boxer would not take one lesson or read a book and then go out and expect to have that work in self-defense. Same thing with this. When you're working on your techniques, it's slow, build up so that you're familiar with angles, familiar with where it's going to hurt them and where it's going to control them versus where it's going to hurt you to put on the same technique. Just some basics you want to keep in mind. Okay, starting out, some basic principles, Kaylee. Again, on disarms, just a real quick overview on things. We're going to be trying to cover a few different things, but you could be using your arm, your hand. You could be using the stick to disarm. You could be controlling their butt end. You could be using your butt end. You could be doing things like squeezing. You can be locking. There's a lot of different things you can do. And it's not that any one thing is better. You don't go into a fight thinking, I'm going to do this technique. What happens is, if you're in a fight or you're in a situation, you're a sparring match or whatever, and you're working, you end up where something is there. Then that's the technique that you do. I wouldn't go from this position to do this disarm because it wouldn't make any sense. So the idea is you work your basics first. We're going to do this the same as we did in the first two videos using our abecedario, our basic set to work on. But as you learn these, you want to bear in mind that there is no one perfect way. It's the position that you're in. That's what works. And if you can make something work in any position, there's probably 5 or 6 different things that you could make work from that angle. And if the first one doesn't work, you want to think of what you can do next, or move on from there. So what we're going to start with is just going to use empty hands because some of these same principles that you can use with a stick, if I still had that stick in my hand, I can use my arm. But the same principle, if I don't have a stick in my hand, I can use the exact same thing. So the idea of that is I can use, after intercepting, you don't want to be thinking, that out of the air you're going to grab a full-speed weapon moving at you. What you have to think of is you have to slow it down. You have to break the speed a little bit and control it so that the initial impact doesn't get you. Once you have it slowed down, then there's various techniques that you can use. So the first thing is breaking contact. Now, in this example, I stopped it, I trapped it with my hands. Instead of staying at the range where the weapon's going to hit me, I moved to the inside and I'm taking here. Now, I have the stick and I'd be using my arm. Just push through. Real easy and simple. Some of the same principles on that behind the arm. Some of the easiest ones to make work aren't always the most advanced or the most complicated sounding. Same as a martial arts, you can be going up, you can be going down, you can go to the inside, you can go to the outside. So again, repeating that usually the fastest, easiest things are the ones that are safest. So what we're going to do is just use those basics on our abecedario on the first 12 strikes. So as an example, 1, I check it to slow it down, grab the stick, because otherwise if I disarm here, it can't disarm unless I have it. Ideally, if I disarm, I want to end up with not only taking the weapon out of his control, but I want to end up that I still have that weapon and I can use it if I have to. So, angle 1, break the impact, grab the weapon, and in this instance, I'm just pushing to the inside. Angle 2, break the initial impact, grab the weapon, the exact same thing. If I'm right here, this is the easiest to do. Angle 3, same thing. I break the impact. Now, this is a little bit lower. I find myself coming down a little bit, so from that position, one of the easiest things to do is just, while I pull the weapon, come straight down with my arm. Angle 4, same thing. After I break the initial impact, now I can be coming up with the forearm while I just pull the stick out. Angle 5, I'm moving out of the way. Now, my hand is underneath, so the easiest thing is while I grab the stick, I just come straight up. Number 6, after I move the inside, I break the contact. I avoid the thrust. I break the contact here. Again, my hand is underneath, so while I pull the stick out, I just come straight up. 7 ends up low. Now, I broke the initial contact. I've got a hold of the stick. Again, my hand is lower, so if my hand is below, I can come up. If it doesn't work, I just get a couple of options on this now. Thinking of the up, down, inside, outside. If something doesn't work, don't struggle to make it work. The easiest thing to do usually is reverse it. So I happen to be under, I come up. That doesn't quite work. I just reverse it and come down. Number 8, break the initial contact, and the same thing. I come up. Now, instead of just coming down, I'm in a good position. If it doesn't come out yet, while I pull the stick out, I just go towards my inside. I just push. 9, I step to the inside, and again, I'm in a perfect position to just pull the stick and push with my forearm. 10, break the initial contact. I got a hold of the stick again, and I'm breaking here. And again, failure drill on this one. If it's not coming out here, which it probably will because I just happen to have that elbow at a good angle, but if it doesn't come out with the first release, it's real easy to just rotate my arm and come down. 11, break the initial contact, and again, easiest thing, I can just push through with my forearm. Angle 12, break the initial contact, and again, while pulling out the stick, I can just rotate. Now, they seem easy and simple, but those are the ones that usually work the safest. And again, adding on a couple of failure drills. And these aren't something that, well, angle 1, you have to do this. Angle 2, you have to do this. No, they're not. It's where your arm ends up. These are the easiest disarms. Up, down, inside, outside. Adding on a couple of failures as an example. 1, okay? I push, I come down. Okay, and I split here. Number 2, I break the initial contact, I push, I can come down. It still doesn't come out, I can come back up high again. Staying close. Okay, number 3, push. I can come down with the arm. Now I can come back with the elbow. All the same principles, up, down, inside, outside. I come to the inside. I come down. I can keep going to the outside. 5, I can come up. I can come down with the elbow. I can come back with the elbow. 6, I can come up, down, okay, pulling out, same time. Down, down, up, back. 8, I can come down. Just the opposite. It just ended up with my hands. Instead of using the front hand, I can be grabbing with my front hand. I can also use that back arm to be striking or striking or striking. Whether it takes on the first one it comes out, or whether it takes a couple quick moves if you're doing them smooth with it. It's a lot easier rather than repeating the same move that already failed you once reverse it, reverse it. In, down. Now I'll reverse that again. I'll grab with the backhand because I can shift my weight and put a little more power into my back arm. So I'll twist and strike there. So basic principles: push to the inside, pull to the outside, go up, go down. And the same if I just happen to grab with the opposite hand and I twist. I can push, I can pull, I can go down, I can go up. Those are the easiest, those are the most basic, fastest on some of your disarms. When we start applying the same principles with the single stick, stick-to-stick disarming, the thing to remember is this isn't limiting you to the new option that you have. This is in addition to. This gives you one more, and in some instances, two more options. As an example, using the same principle of up, down, push, pull, I can still do the exact same thing, up with my forearm, down with my forearm, push or pull. Now I have the extra options. I can use the stick to go up, down, push, or pull. The only thing is, if I'm using this for leverage, remember that your leverage is the closest to your hand. I wouldn't want to be putting leverage on here. I would be wanting putting on close. If I were pulling, I wouldn't want to pull here. I'd want my hand in close. But using that same principle of close to your hand for leverage, I can go up, I can go down, I can push, or I can pull. And in some instances, I add on a third direction because now I have the puño or the butt end. Okay, just usually about 2 inches sticking out. Same thing. If I'm blocking here, going back to what I mentioned on the failure drills, if it doesn't work pushing, I've got that puño that I can pull right back on. If I'm coming up with my hand or with the stick, okay, if I came up with my arm and it didn't come right out, I can turn that around, reverse it, come right down with the butt end. If I came up with the longer portion of the stick and it didn't come right out, I can rotate that over to a push. I can make that roll right over to a forearm. So again, it's not a matter of one of these is perfect. It's a matter of where did your hand end up? It's underneath. I can go up. If I have to, I can roll. If I have to, I can use the puño and pull. Number 2. Okay, I have all the same forms. Now the only difference is if I was going to be grabbing now, the easiest thing is to grab with my left hand because I'm going to use this one to do as much disarming as I can. But still sticking with the basic principles, check it. I'm absorbing, breaking the initial impact, absorbing and controlling, get a hold of the stick. I can still push down with the stick, push in with the stick. Or if I came over the top, pull back, up, down, and I still have my arm. Number 3. Straight up or hook with the puño. Number 4, I can come straight down. I can come straight down with my forearm or push or hook. We'll just do through 5 and 6. Okay, now if I go through, again, I can, while pulling the stick out, I can pull back. I can turn it over, use the puño. I can push up, down. 6, straight down, push, pull back, puño, pull back. So again, you can see where even with any of the numbers, starting with just that push, that up, down, push, pull, whether it's just with my empty hand or whether it's with using the weapon, using the puño end or using the end of the stick. Principles are still the same. Quick leverage. And there's more advanced, there's other things to do. We'll get into the locking and the throwing. But on your basic disarms, the idea of is he has a weapon, I have a weapon. This is 50-50. In a fight, in a self-defense situation, 50-50 isn't acceptable. What I want is I have to ideally end up where I have the weapons and he doesn't have any. Now I have 2. Now that might be enough, number 1, as an intimidation factor, or just as I have the high road more or less here, I've got the advantages. This might be enough to stop the fight, stop the altercation, end things. And if not, okay, right now 50-50, I take him away. If this isn't over yet, not only does he not have that weapon that's as capable of hurting me, but I now have a second weapon. So, basic principles of disarming and why, and adding those on to your different numbers. And again, there are more advanced, we'll cover some of those, but the first thing is get it down where any attack that comes in, you've got it fast, just working on basic principles, push, pull, and your failure drills of it doesn't go one, just reverse it. It doesn't go, just reverse it. Your first application, stick to stick. Next principle we want to go through is striking to disarm. Now, a couple of different things, one that I haven't pointed out before and a couple following through. First of all, if we have weapons back and forth, if I'm trying to disarm him, needless to say, right now when he attacked me, he's on balance, he's got a good grip, he's secure. Now, if I just try and disarm, I can do that, with the different methods. However, it would be a lot easier that before I tried to disarm him, if I did something to upset his balance, his concentration. So say, for example, instead of just doing this, if before I had a disarm, I had hit him first. Now he's a little bit, first of all, in pain, a little more off balance, and not as concentrating as much on that attack, which means my disarm is going to be easier. Second thing with that, two. One is if I have to disarm or if I have to work weapons with him, so far with the abecedary and everything else, we've been going on the basic principle, which is block his attack and then counter. If we take that one step further, the best way to stop his attack is one, not be there, two, attack him first. Okay, when I'm certain that that attack is imminent, I would be attacking him first. Now, either way, first of all, that's going to be taking out some of the power and concentration of his strike. Second of all, anything I did after that is going to be a little easier, as in a disarm. Second thing is, even if I was going to disarm here, now the other principle is before I would try and just take it away, he already tried to attack me with this weapon. So it's already obviously a big danger. Before I try and take it out, I want to make sure I'm not going to struggle and waste any time taking it out. So while he's got the weapon, while he's still has the danger, I have no problem with justifying coming back and striking him once or twice. And then, now that he's loosened up and in pain, it's going to be a lot easier, the concentration won't be there, to do my disarm and follow up if I have to. So, we go on to the principle of first block and checking and strike. And depending on where I end up striking, there's my disarm. Number two. Maybe I strike, that sets me right up in position to pull out. Three. I come down to the leg. If I just did the one, I'm in a perfect position to come back up again. If I did 1, 2, I'd be in a position to uncross. Okay, same thing. Maybe I did a striking block. I strike on the arm. I strike to the leg. Now I'm set up to come right back across. Strike. Maybe I strike twice. There's my disarm. Maybe I strike a third time. I can use that as a disarm. 1, there's a disarm. 2, there's a disarm. 3, there's a disarm. 1, there's my arm, down, there's a strike, there's a strike, there's a disarm. I strike here. That downward movement that we went through in the last video. I strike back here. Now I'm set back up to come across. So we're getting to the point now where, just like with the other DVDs, once we had that basic principle of grab the stick, up, down, inside, outside, is you add your strikes with it along with your disarms. So adding those on, that's the next step, is you have your basics, put them together, mix them with your strikes, because obviously he's striking to you. You're justified, you would be answering back. That loosens him up, takes him off balance. Now you add those same basic disarms, and they're going to be a lot easier. The next step we want to go to is starting to introduce some of the basic locking principles. Now, the easiest way to do this, again, we're going to use this in our abecedario, in our ABCs. So we'll use this with our 12 basic strikes. Now again, there are no best locks. We're going to learn them in a progression just so that you understand the different ones, the different possibilities. But that doesn't mean that, if you were to actually try and do these while you were sparring or fighting, again, it's not a matter of, well, we're fighting, we're this distance away, and I'm going to try this disarm. No, when things truly work, it's because you know your basics and you end up in a position where all of a sudden that disarm is applicable. You would not be trying from out here to move into a lock or for a disarm. You're fighting and then ending up in a position to use one of your tools. So with that in mind, lock number one, okay, abecedario, block, check, grab, okay. What we're going to end up doing is strike, turn your hand up. You're going to use, I'm going to turn the hand and I'm going to use this to lock his arm and take him off balance. I use the stick as a lever to start to leverage it. One again. Grab, strike, palm up so it's right into his armpit, and I twist his wrist at the same time I lever. Two. What I'm going to be doing on two is I'm going to step behind him. You can see at this range right now, this is the danger zone for weapons. I want to move either out or in. So locking, I'm going to be moving in. So I'm going to step behind him. I'm going to use the puño, or the butt end, right into the upper chest, clavicle, supraclavicular, anywhere. I move in close behind him so that I've got him controlled. I can apply pressure with the butt end, and I can just sink down. So we're mixing your pressure points in with your locks. Number three, almost the same as one, but instead of just going under the arm, I'm going to go above the arm and under the chin. I've got a hold of his hand. I lock his hand and arm over. I use the stick as a lever. I'll go this way. So that I can use the pressure on the joint and turn him in. Stay there. Number four, after my block and check, I'm just going to step around, and remember, the stick doesn't feel any pain. So when you're using locks, it's a lot more powerful to use the stick as a lock, as a locking tool than using your hands and flesh and blood. So I'm going to step around behind him again. I'm going to use the stick. I grab with both sides. I get in tight again, take out the slack, either over his arm or under his arm. It doesn't matter because the stick is strong enough to cause pain when I squish. Okay, and it's just basically a squeeze in, which works almost any place on his body. Number five, I'm going to make sure, again, it's a thrust, it's a little faster. So I sidestep out of the way, check. I'm going to start with that strike. I'm going to diagonal down. Now, with this one, I'm going to put it right between his legs, a little above his knees, turn his hand, and I'm going to step through and use this as a lever to start to take him off balance. Okay, that's number five. Number six, after I block it, I'm going to step behind him again. I'm going to use the tool as I step behind him, pull him in close, not out here where he's just going to fall down or escape, pull him in close, my hands close together, and apply a choke with the stick. Number seven, after I block and check, I'm going to just bring it, I'm going to turn my hand palm up. If I hit him on the way, well, that's okay, it makes it work better. I turn my hand palm up behind his neck. I just reach across, palm down, making an X, a scissors choke, and turn him down towards my left. 8, after my block and check, I'm going to come right underneath his arm, turn my hand palm up, similar to that X that I just made, make that X out, and trap lever down using the stick, because there's no pain on the stick, levering down on his arm. 9, I'm going to step behind. We start working, getting into our positions for our throwing. And as I come across, I'm going to step behind. I'm just going to put the stick on an angle in his chest. I'm going to put my fist in the side of his neck and be ready for a two-step, for a takedown. Do that again from this side. After 9, 1 step, 2 steps, stick goes across my chest, across his. I just pressure with my hand in the side of his neck, the muscle mass in the side of his neck for a takedown. 10, it's a thrust. I parry it, step out of the way again, roll right over the top. I'm going to use the puño to hook. I'm taking the arm. You'll notice that we're mixing these up a lot so that we're trying to make use of takedowns, locks, the elbows, the wrists, chokes, all different points of leverage. I'm going to step in front, use an arm bar, roll the elbow with the arm bar, so I start moving him into a takedown towards the front. I use that to break his balance. After my payong, my block and check, I'm going to swing around behind his head, grab on again. I'm going to use the stick for leverage, use my two thumbs to the mandibular angle on both sides right below his chin. And again, the idea of pressure point is just quick, short, fast, intense, using that stick for leverage and putting pressure point on to the mandibular angle for number 11. Now we're adding pressure points in with it. And number 12, block check. I'm going to switch feet because I'm slashing down to the left. I grabbed his hand, so I've got control over it. This is the only one that's a little bit more complicated because at the end of the set, we're putting together a few techniques. So once more, I block and check. I'm going to step forward right foot, diagonal slash to loosen him up. I'm going to hit him with the butt end of the ribs, which loosens him up more. That gives me time to come right over his arm. I just pass his hand back like I'm going for an outside wrist lock, and I can either lock it underneath his stick, I can go under my arm and use it for additional leverage, okay? Either side, my hand goes on, I use that for leverage. I can use it for a takedown, for a lock, to go underneath his chin, or to set him up for striking. So just going through that smooth, 1, under, arm bar. 2, I step behind, use the puño into his chest or supraclavicular area. 3, I go under his chin, bend the arm and the wrist back, use it to lever his head. Number 4, I go right around and under his arm or over his arm, I just grab it with both hands, move in tight, and basically squish him with the stick. Number 5, step out of the way of the thrust, diagonal down as I control his hand between his legs, above his knees, start walking through. I turn my palm up and I start levering his legs as I step through. 6, after I parry it and step out of the way, I'm going to step behind, grab it with both hands close together, and use a rear choke. 7, after I block and check, palm up on the close side of his neck, palm down with my left hand. There's my scissors choke, and I just lower him down as I spin him to the left. 8, after I block check, I'm going to go right underneath his arm, turn my hand palm up again, grip it with both hands, palm down, second hand, lock the arm down. 9, after I parry it and get out of the way, control his arm, 1 step, cross behind, stick across his chest and my fist right in the side of his neck, and use that for leverage for a rear takedown. Okay. 10, step out of the way and parry, hook, step in front at the same time, roll his elbow, use that arm bar for a front takedown. 11, payong, swing around, both thumbs to the mandibular angle right underneath the corners of the jaw. And 12, this side. Block check, step, diagonal slash, butt strike. I come right behind and over his arm. I can lock it with my forearm, or I can lock it on his stick. Hold it here. I can use a wrist lock, elbow, shoulder, or back underneath. That would be using the Abecedario 12 set for 12 pre-planned locking counters. And again, it's not a matter of this is the best one. Just one more thing as an example to remind people on what you pray. If I learned those all, I can do 1 through 12. I know them, I remember them. Next step, again, adding 2, just so you understand where to go, is if I had a 1, what I can do is I can now move that over into a 2. Okay? I have a 2. I can move that over into a 1 or a 3. So the idea is, again, build up. Once you know your basics, you can switch them around, you can add them in, you can mix them up, you can put them together a little bit. So, but the idea is learn them and then get them done to where you do this particular lock, not because that's what I wanted to do, but because that's where you ended up. You're in a position to do a number 1 or a number 6, then that's the one you do. On this next section, we're going to cover going into takedowns, using the stick for takedowns. There's many you can do, and again, this is just the set that we use on our abecedario. There's other options, and if they work, once you have the principles, it's usually easy to apply them and put in different throws, just like I showed at the end of the last section. You can mix and match some of these things. But for the sake of having a set to practice, we're going to take the same ones that we just did and show you how you can use those into either throws or takedowns using those locks, using the same locking set. Number 1, block, check. This was an arm lever. Now all I can do is, instead of just using this as a disarm, before I could use this number 1 as a disarm where I lever the stick out, all I have to do is hold on to his hand, bend it a little bit more, and step into it and use this as a takedown. Number 2, and again, this is just because it's off of this set. There's other things you could do, throws, etc., but these are just ideas off of this set. Number 2 was supraclavicular or upper pectoral, move in close. Now, all I would have to do, turn, okay? At this, making sure that I'm snugged in, I stay in tight, and I just take him right down to his seat. And then I can either roll him, stay in close, or just disengage. Okay? 3 was a head lever. Again, I just maintain my grip and either step in or turn him, so I take the slack out and use that as a takedown. 4, we're just using the control, the pain because the stick doesn't feel any pain, so all the pain's going into him. So all I have to do is move in, either over, or under his arm, put it against, and as soon as I squish and get him up on his toes off balance, all I have to do is just keep walking into him while going down. Five, I get out of the way, slash down. This time I'm just going to maintain the grip on his hand. This was a leg lever. So as I do this, instead of just using it to buckle him and take him off balance, as I step through, I'm going to continue going and angle it down towards the ground. Six, the same thing as I'm stepping behind with that rear choke. Okay, turn. Once I have this, I can just be pressing down using my thumbs, bending on his head, and just take him right down to his hips, to his butt again, in which case, again, I can maintain control, turn him onto his stomach, or just disengage. 7 was the scissors on his neck. Now again, I mentioned I just turn and just angle that X choke or the scissors choke down towards the ground. 8, I go underneath, take that same X, and all I'm going to do to make this a takedown is I start stepping backwards as I apply pressure to his arm. 9, 9, I maintain a grip of his hand, step in, angle the stick, and again, I use my fist in the side of his neck for pressure. Now I just wheel and sweep him over my leg, or go into a hip throw. 10, it's a thrust, again, step out of the way, hook, and this was using the arm bar and the leg sweep as a front throw or front takedown. 11, again, the idea of using pressure points is I have to get those pressure points causing him pain in the direction I want him to go. When I first apply this, I'm using the mandibular angles, I'm going up. That takes him up on his toes and off balance. Now what I have to do is turn in tight and start to angle my hands so that the pressure starts putting pain in a downward direction. And 12, slash, but I just lever under or under the stick, again, whichever option I choose, and I'm going to step in or I'm going to wheel. Either way, to take out the slack, I just turn and take him down with number 12. Now, again, there's a lot of different things that you can do as far as takedowns, and you can add these in. Again, the exact same thing as we did with the locking sets. Number 1, okay, now say, for example, I'm going to move this to a number 6 and take him down with the rear choke. From here, I could use the reverse of number 5 and lever him forward to take him down. Give me a 2. From the 2, I could start with a skish, move in to a leg lever, move in to the mandibular angle, or just on the traps, on the shoulders, and just roll him down and wheel him over. So being able to put those angles in, what you can do is, again, adding on with the abecedarios, he could be calling what I do. So say, for example, maybe for one, he would call out a butt strike. I'd be doing a butt strike. Number 2, it would be a striking. So I do the striking set. Now he'd do number 3, and he'd say lock. So I start the lock, okay? And then maybe he'd go number 7, okay, and say throw. So as he does a 7, I move in and do my throw. So again, it's different ways that you're putting things together and getting to the point where, all right, now I know my basics, but can I apply them? Because the problem with drills, and again, we're presenting these as drills, but the main problem that people have with drills, and it's generally one of the main problems that people have with the Philippine arts in general, is everybody has drills, and everybody does drills. But a lot of people never take it past that point mentally, where they go from, okay, I can do all these drills, and now you tell the person, okay, now we're just going to go out there and play. Or just, I'm going to mix up the numbers, or we're going to mix up the circumstances, or forget the drills and just take your locks out of the drills and apply them. I'm not giving you any certain numbers anymore. I'm just giving you the strike. I'm just feeding you the angle. I'm just feeding you this attack. And what I want you to do isn't off of that first attack. It's going to be off of when I tell you. So say, for example, I tell Kaylee, okay, I'm going to give you one attack, okay, and you block and counter. I want you to just swing. Now I'm going to give you another attack, and I change the angles, and he blocks and swings. And I tell him, now I'm going to give you another attack, and I want to throw, okay? So he's going to move in and follow up and finish with a throw. So that's how you build up and get past the point, past the problem that people have with just, I can do 100 drills. I know all these drills perfect. Okay, but can you apply them? So this is how you start putting them together, where you can actually put them together in a situation. Make them work when you have to, not just when you know that, well, next is a number 5. The next technique that we want to go over can be used for all 3. It's very common in the Philippine arts. It can be used as a disarm, as a lock and as a throw, which is why we waited for this, because it could be used for any of those different situations. Snake circle or snaking. Okay, usually it can be done, easiest way is with the same side that it comes in on. So if it's coming in on this side of my body, I would be using this arm. If it comes in on this side of my body, I would be using this arm. Otherwise, you'd have to, you could pass it to make it work. But snake circle, what you're doing, two different things. As a disarm, all I'm doing is, once you break your initial contact, or if we were fighting and sparring and I already had it trapped somewhere, what I'm doing is making a circle inside out, and I'm going to either use that again as a disarm, as a lock, or as a throw. So first, as a disarm, if I'm on the stick as I snake, all I'm doing is twisting around, so I'm causing his wrist to continue to twist farther than it's supposed to, and the stick just comes out. When you go just fast, just go around and let it go. Now, if I did it as a disarm again, I'm staying back, so I'm just twisting on the hand. If I go in a little bit closer, then I end up locking the hand and locking the arm, in which case I can work at the wrist, I can move in closer, I can work at the elbow. Now I'm using this as a lock, and I have one of his weapons controlled, and I still have my main weapon in to work with on other things. So again, on this side, snake as I'm going up on the top for a disarm, okay? I'm going over the top, inside, out, and just body mechanics, just twisting with it. If it got stuck, your failure drill on this would be just use that stick for added leverage. If I'm using it for a lock, then as I do it, I'm moving in closer, and I'm going to lock, and I would be primarily taking his elbow. Now, if I was going to set that up for a throw, again, the same thing. I move in as I lock this. Now I can use this two different directions. I can take him down forward or backward. If I were going to take him down forward, turn. All I have to do at this point is step in front and lever. If I were to take him down backwards, all I have to do at this point is step in, cross behind. Either I'd have him locked up, and I'd use the lock as a throw. So once more, on your odd side, there's your snake circle as a disarm. I snake the stick and end up at his wrist. As I use it as a lock, I move in and lock out that elbow. If I use it as a throw, I move in, lock the elbow, and either take him to the front or cross behind and take him to the rear. Now, if he's going on the opposite side, again, if he's going here, I want to use this side to snake with. So after I block and trap, I break the initial contact. Again, I'm going over the top, inside, out. There's my disarm. I twist at the wrist. If there's a failure drill here, I just add that extra pressure on with the hand. If I go in a little bit deeper, I end up with that elbow, and I can lock it, or I can turn it and lock it. If I want to add on extra pressure, I just take a two-handed grip on that stick, and I can pressure or lever. If I want to use this as a throw, after I do my snake, again, I move in close. I can use just leverage to take him down and pain, or I can just step in front and take out his close leg and use that leverage to take him down. So either way, from the my right side, my strong side here, I've got my snake circle for my disarm. I have the snake circle for a lock, or I have the snake circle for a throw, or taking him backwards for a throw. Any of those I can do, and the same thing we would point out with these before, whether it was on the closed side, if I were adding on any of the strikes and I just ended up there, if he was on the open side, not even so much I was planning on a snake, but as I came down and countered, I ended up in a position to snake, or I ended up in a position to snake, and then I can go into my locks or my throws. So again, it's not something that you plan it at first until you know the move, but you don't have to only do it when it's planned. You want to be able to work it in. That's your snaking or snake circle. The last thing we want to cover on this video is just a little bit of the ability to lock the live hand. Because again, what we've been doing to first, the abecedary, everything else is planned target, pre-planned response, and a cooperative person that you're fighting. But we've been stressing that as you go through, you add up to where you can actually do these, not just sparring, but fighting, actually using with an aggressive, a non-compliant opponent. And with someone like that, one of the biggest things is non-compliant. He's going to be using just as much as I've been using my attack and my trapping hand to control or to lock. He also would be using his hand to attack or to lock or control. So I just want to get a couple other ones on here, because the ability to lock this weapon hand is not the only thing. If I lock the non-weapon hand, I can also, if I lock it properly, I can also use pain enough to control them so that that weapon hand is no longer as much of a danger. So there's just a couple of things we want to go through on that. Say, for example, from any position here, if that live hand came up, the first one be coming in is I would be taking it to the inside, I'm to the outside of his arm, and I'm just locking this, getting a good grip here, just as I would of his weapon hand. The exact same thing, but just I have this hand instead. I'm on the opposite side of his weapon. That gives me a little bit of an angle. Now, stretched out, you can see where the same principles we did with our original disarming, using the arm, using the stick, I have real good leverage to work on this as an arm bar. Now, also similar to a couple of the different locks in several of the martial arts, from that arm bar, one of the biggest things that we like to do with our failure drills is figure it would fail because the person was resisting. How do they resist? By doing the opposite. I'm trying to do an arm bar. If he were resisting the straight arm, he would usually do it by pulling his shoulder up and bending the arm, in which case I can also use the butt end of the puño to bring the elbow back and add on that wrist lock to just drop down. So those two can go together, where again, if we're working here and that hand's coming out, I've got an arm bar. I just use it. Once I've got him stretched out and the arm weak and off balance, I use the butt end to pull it, turn the thumb down at the same time, and use that to sink him. The second two would be from the same position. Okay, I've got that arm bar here, but instead of hooking over the top with the puño, I'm going to come from underneath and use that puño to hook back. Now, at the same time that we hook back on this, I'm also going to be applying a wrist lock. So I've got pressure down on his deltoid, on his shoulder and on his upper arm with the puño. I'm levering on his arm, I'm levering on his elbow, and I'm also putting a wrist lock on it, the same thing. So as I weaken that arm, as I go over, I put pressure down, lever, pressure on the wrist, and use it to take him straight down. The last thing with this set that we add on is when you have him in this position, either if he goes down to his knees, down to the floor, or if he's still up. And again, a failure drill, one of the easy things to do is I'm in a close position. I've got that puño end to use grappling again. I just hook that around his head, and I use that to wheel him over. So, repeating the first two is I've got an arm bar, hook the elbow up, and wrist lock. Repeating that second set is after I work that arm, I'm coming from underneath, or after that slash, I come from underneath, butt end, wrist lock, use the short end to lever over, in which case, now again, I was in a position to stay in, maintain control, or back up, or do what I had to do. So that just gives you a couple more options on not just trapping, locking, controlling, or takedowns of the stick hand, but also their other hand too, because you want to control that. And again, the idea is not controlling. You'll notice when I was doing those, just the last thing I want to reiterate again and point out is when I was controlling this hand, I wasn't keeping myself in a position where while I'm doing this, he can be hitting me over here. I was in a position the whole time where I could immediately control and limit his ability to hit me, or get totally out of the way so that wasn't a danger. I wasn't staying where he could continue to hit me with his weapon while I tried to work the control. So Again, it's just, again, attitude-wise and everything. You don't want to just think about controlling the weapon hand. You want to think about controlling the opponent, and that means the ability also to control that live hand, not if you decide to do it, but because if that opportunity presents itself where the live hand is there, that live arm is there, then you want to be able to make use of that opportunity and control them with it. In closing, I want to point out again that, especially working with these weapons, now with this video we got into disarms, locking, and throwing. If someone were a total beginner, not know anything, and just take another total beginner, not know anything, and start doing this on each other, it's not the most intelligent thing to do. We present these as a training tool. You want to use them as a tool, but again, we point out, find someone in your area that's qualified, contact us, we can help you find someone, and learn and do these properly. They're a lot safer. That way your martial arts career will extend for a long time, and more importantly, so will your friends or your families and whoever you decide to use as a training partner. So make use of all those things. Again, the disarms, we did locking sets, we did disarms, locks. We also turned that into throws, and some takedowns. We also showed a couple other versions like that snaking or snake circle where they can be any of those techniques, and we also threw in a couple of locks, not just on the weapon hand, which is normal, but controlling their non-weapon hand, their live hand, because if that person's more dangerous, more capable, they're not just using this weapon, they're using this hand too. So you want the ability to control and defend against not just this hand, but this hand too. So we hope that this video, this particular one, gives you some of the options that you need to work on those tools.